Hello, everyone. Geoffrey Nance here. Welcome to another edition of Tip Tuesday. We've got a series going on here for the month of February called Things We Love About Trading. So it's pretty cool. I think it makes sense with kind of the theme for the month here, Valentine's Day. Just yesterday, I don't know if you guys are Valentine's folks or not. Here in our household, it's not really a big deal like it is with some. Now, some people might say, Geoffrey, that's because you don't do enough for your wife. That partially true, probably, but hasn't been a big deal for us. But I know for some people it is. So whether it is for you or not, you know, make the most of your opportunities. Make sure that the person that you're with knows that you indeed do love them and cherish them and all the things the word tells us to do. So our message for today is finding patterns. I think one of the things that people are really surprised about, at least I was, when I went to my first step one, is to see how you can look at a chart and understand whether or not a stock might go up or down based on a pattern. And it was so fascinating to me. Like I was just like overwhelmed almost with this idea. Like how incredibly cool is this concept? And if this works, why has nobody else ever told me about this in my entire existence up to that point? And I was baffled by the whole thing. Um, and so I set out to really understand charting and to see how it really works. And can I really get to a point where I can look and find a pattern and really know whether or not a stock is likely to go up or down and why that would be the case? And so, you know, that as we walk through our different uh, steps here, our different levels of education, we introduce you to different patterns. And these are patterns, guys. And in order for something to be a pattern, much like our stoplights, they're green, yellow, red. And then it's green, yellow, red. And that doesn't really change, right? And the reason that it works is because everybody understands what the pattern is. If all of a sudden it were to be like, green, yellow, purple, everybody be like, oh, purple. I guess that's okay. But what if it was like green, black, blue? Well, now we'd be like, what in the world is going on here? Like that light is messed up. Like that's not the pattern. So patterns are what we call items that are predictable, repeatable, and reliable. Now, you can take that to the extreme and go, wait, does that mean it's going to work every time? No, it doesn't mean it's going to work every time. In fact, we'll show you and teach you that patterns tend to repeat on average, and they go like 3 to 5 times, and then they'll switch over into something else. So it's not like just because you found a pattern, now you're like, oh, I can stay and trade this stock for the rest of my life, and it's just going to stay between support and resistance, and every time it hits support, it's going to go up, and every time it hits resistance, it's going to go down. But the idea is that in order for it to be a pattern, it would have to do that consistently enough for you to be able to represent that on a chart. So in other words, you're able to understand, yes, this stock hit an area that has been support. That's why it is going up today. This stock hit an area that's resistance. That's why it's going down today. And if it does that often enough, then you will see a pattern. And you're looking for, again, patterns that are predictable, repeatable, and reliable. And one of the things that I really want you guys to understand, because trading certainly, we're doing this right for a purpose, and hopefully you guys all have that purpose. It's going to vary from one person to the next, but part of what you're trying to do is obviously make money. I mean, I would say that most of us didn't start trading being like, hey, I think I just needed another way to waste money. Like that's not really what we're trying to do. So we're out there, looking for an opportunity to make money. So obviously that's one of our goals. Understanding how patterns work is part of one of the things that we teach you to help you achieve that goal. So when I looked at the charting, again, it was amazing to me. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go out there and we're going to look at some charts. I'm actually going to do 2 different charting software. I'm going to show you the charts by Tradeway, and then we're going to look at telechart too. I just have a lot more loaded into the telechart, so that'll allow us to see a lot more patterns. Now, one of the things that you guys will notice as we go through this exercise is that there are going to be times when you're going to look at something and say, wow, that's pretty clear. I can see that very easily. That pattern makes sense. I can see that it's moving up from here. I can see a previous line that makes me see, okay, well, that's why it's doing that. There are going to be other patterns, which again, depending on your level of education, you may or may not notice as easily as someone else. So there are patterns that tend to be more common. There are some that are less common. There are some patterns that act very quickly. There are other patterns that are a little bit slower. So I call them explosive versus non-explosive. But there's still patterns that we should see this predictable, repeatable, and reliable nature to them. So let's go over here to the charts by Tradeway. I'm going to share my screen here with you so you guys can see this. And we're just going to go through and just kind of look and just show you why I think that this is fun. And because for a lot of people, if it's just about making a money, right, and it's just a job, like some people are trading for a living, but your job ought to be fun as much as you can make it. Like I try to enjoy things. I try to enjoy life. I think Jesus wants us to enjoy life, right? I think that there's numerous evidence of that throughout the word when you read the scriptures and you think about the totality, who Jesus is and who he was as creator. And he wants us to enjoy life. In fact, he says, the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. I have come that you might have life and you might have it to the full, or you might have it abundantly. So think about like the opposites there. What's the opposite of stealing, right? It's being productive. It's doing things that are beneficial with your hands. What's the opposite of kill? Giving life. And when we talk about giving life, we're not just talking about having babies, though it does say, in Genesis, to be fruitful and multiply. That was part of God's plan. But the opposite of killing is to give life. And sometimes we give life through our words, so the way that we interact with other people. I've heard it said, there are two types of people in the world: those that make a room better when they walk in, and those that make a room better when they walk out. And I've always challenged people to be the kind of person that makes a room better when you walk in. And so I think some of that obviously has to do with our approach to life. Like, are you an uplifting person? Are you somebody who's looking for positive things? The Bible talks a lot about that too. It's just such an amazingly practical book. So steal, kill, and then destroy. So what's the opposite of destroy? To build, guys. And I think there's so many applications there. And it's just the opposite, right? So here's what the thief comes to do, right? Steal, kill, destroy. What have I come? I've come to do the opposite of that. And so part of that is enjoying life. Like if you're miserable, you're not enjoying life. And so I would say to you, look, there's a reason why Jesus says to us, whatever is admirable or pure or praiseworthy or all of these things, think about those things, right? Think about those positive things, because our mindset does matter. And so when I look at charting, I don't want it to just simply be like a job. I want it to be fun. And when it's fun, you're going to have a tendency to do it more, right? Your hobbies. If you got a hobby and you really like that hobby, you're going to have a tendency to do it more. So I want trading to be a business, right? I want us to work towards that, but I also want us to enjoy the business and kind of take some of that element of hobby with us. We're like, I want to do this. And I think looking for patterns is one of those things. So let's go out here. And let's look a little bit at charts by Tradeway, and then we'll share a little bit from Telechart as well. We'll take up about maybe 5-10 minutes doing this, and then we'll wrap up for today. All right, so let me bring this one up here, and you guys will see here we have charts by Tradeway. A lot of stuff going on here. We've got a lot of stuff, a lot of neat stuff, but we're just going to go over here, do some real basic stuff here. Over in research, we'll go to chart, and we'll just kind of see some that I have listed. And what you'll notice is we got 1 day with a minute chart. We got a 3-month where each candlestick is a day. And then we have a 6-month where each candlestick is a day. We'll just kind of stick with that. We may even go to a year just to see some stuff real quick. But a couple of things going on right here. You can just see that I just dropped some lines in on this one, I think just yesterday during a live webinar that we were doing. Extend this just a little bit so we can see. Yeah. And you can kind of see that a student was asking about this Coinbase, and they were wondering just yesterday, which was really cool that we can see this. And we talked about whether or not it was at a good buy point. And you can just see that if we go back here, we drop these lines in and say, well, you know what? It could be at support. So here's where we were just yesterday. And look how cool this is. So here we have a student. Now, obviously this had been, basically, if you guys are advanced, you can see a shoulder, a head, a shoulder, and then the drop that we expect to follow. Okay, so there's that. So if you go back and you're looking at patterns, that's fun to find. It turned into a downtrend. Okay, that's cool. That's neat. But over here, he said, Geoffrey, is this not starting to uptrend? Now, what you guys might notice is we don't have a lot of data to go off of over here. But this is where he was, and he said, you know what? There's a bottom, and there's a bottom, and there's a bottom. Could this be at support? And we said, well, you know what? It absolutely could be. So, yeah, I think you're right. And so what I did is I dropped in a line, and I touched the bottom here and touched the bottom there and touched the bottom there. So that gave us our support line. And then you come over here and you say, okay, so there's a top and there's a top. Now we only have two tops, but still we get an idea. This is an uptrend, guys. So that's fun, right? It's fun. And now you say, all right, so I think I found an uptrend. I believe it's at support, and our system says, okay, so at support, this stock ought to go up. Well, today turned out to be a very positive day in the overall market. So what do you think, guys? Do you think this stock at support made a move up today? Right? So that's what we're trying to do. We're just going to say, well, it's supposed to go from here up to about 220, 225. And so yesterday at close, it was around 185. Okay. So now the question is, or no, sorry, where was it? Yeah. Closed at 190, 193 and a half, 193 and a half. So it closed around 193 and a half yesterday. And so basically this pattern then would indicate, well, it could move up almost, $30 here in the next several days or so. Wow, that's quite a move, right? That's a big move. And again, it's right at support. So if you're out here and you're looking for this stock, one of these students happened to find this stock, and let's see whether or not they got support right on this. Well, look at that, guys. That stock was up $13.70 today. It was up 7%, 7% on the day. And we just talked about it in the last hour of trading yesterday, potentially being at support, and it was up almost $14 today. Now, I don't know how you don't get excited about that. Like, to me, that's fun. So here you are as a student, you're out there, you're looking at this, you're going, hey, is this a pattern forming? Is this beginning of a new uptrend? And it was so exciting as a teacher to hear a student say, hey, is this the start of a new uptrend? I'm like, yeah, I think it is. And look at that. That's pretty cool, right? We can go look at the S&P, just say, is the S&P making any particular patterns? Well, it was starting to make an M. We talk about M stands for murder, and it tends to go down, but it didn't go down yesterday. So we talked about how that was weird. And then today, of course, it's up, they say, based off of the news of Russia pulling back. So we'll see how long that holds. But yeah, look at this. So we don't see a lot of like real easy patterns with the S&P, right? You don't see a lot there currently. We'll look back over the last year or so. Well, during this stretch right here, it'd be pretty easy, guys. I'm going to take this right here. I'm going to draw what they call a ray. I'm just going to grab this and say I'm going to go here and go there and check that out. So now what you would do, obviously we're looking forward so we can see the totality of what's happened. But if we had just been back here in time and just grabbed this high there and that high there, and then this one here, that would have been three tops. And what that would have told us is we would have had a really strong idea when it moved up off support where it was headed towards resistance. When it moved up from support, where was it headed? To resistance. And check this out, guys. How do you not get excited about this? How do you not love this? Come on. After all this movement here, so after this big drop, where does it go? Right to resistance. Where does it go? Right to resistance. And then over here, we didn't quite get as high. It stalled out at 4,800 and then fell towards the end of the year. But how cool is that? How cool is that? So you can just sit there. You can grab a big list. So I'm going to go over here. I'm just going to grab a big list here. And I've got almost 570 in this. So you just grab a list. And what you can do is you can set this, let's just say by price. And you guys can kind of do this on your own. Just go out here and then you can just space bar through and just say, all right, let me go see if I can find a pattern here. And you're just looking for patterns and you're trying to find things that are at good buy points. Now, listen, guys, if you're looking at Amazon, it is doing something, but it's kind of specific. So just space bar through it till you notice something that seems very simple where you say, oh, I know what that pattern is. I mean, here's Priceline doing something, but it's a really advanced pattern. So you probably wouldn't know that. Okay. And we just kind of space bar through and just say, look, what do I find here? All right, there's an uptrend. Now it's a little late. What's it doing now? Well, is it rolling? Is it downtrending? Is it a descending wedge? So we've got some opportunities here with AZO AutoZone. Kind of think through what that's doing. We could pop a line in here. I think we pop a line in there. I think that would create a descending wedge. So if you've been to our step 2, you've learned that pattern. So now you can go out there and do that. And look at this. And you can just do this. And one of the things that's really great about this, guys, is you kind of just space bar through, is just let your eyes be drawn to what you think you're trying to see. So based on what you've learned, whether it's a rolling stock, an uptrend, a downtrend, more advanced stuff, your M's, your W's, your flags, your head and shoulders, kiss goodbyes, things like that. Again, depending on what you've learned, you'll be looking for certain things, but you want your eyes to be drawn towards those. Right back here in this stretch, there's a flag that worked out really, really nicely. So again, you can go back and you find these things, and obviously we're looking in the past to kind of understand what is likely to happen in the future. So we're using past patterns to help us predict future movement, and that's just really cool. And again, you can just go have fun with this. I would encourage you guys to stop and then start to draw some lines in. So when you get to a point where you're like, hey, I think I see a pattern here, well, go drop a line in. I mean, I think it's pretty clear here. We've got a horizontal line. All right, we'll go pop it in. There's your horizontal line. Fix it up where you want it to be. Say, you know what, that looks pretty good. I think that's a pretty good horizontal support line there. What's it doing overall? Is it starting to roll? Well, it kind of was during this stretch here. That was a rolling stock. It's a fast one, but now it just broke out of that rolling stock. It's a little bit above resistance, so it's changed its pattern a little bit. But go ahead and pop some lines in. The other thing that you could do too, once you pop lines in, is to go back and see, particularly because you can go back in time. So I'm looking present day, but we could easily grab our scroll bar here, go back in time, and not know what happened. And I think that's one of the best things you can do is get to a point where you're drawing your lines, and then you see that thing just go bounce up off support and then tag your resistance line and just be like, what? Because now you're starting to understand, all right, I'm trading more like the professionals. So they're looking at movement over time. They're making buy and sell decisions, and they're doing that off of these lines. And now I'm getting to a point where I can do similar things. That's a lot of fun. And that's one of the things that we love about trading. So thank you guys for being with us today. I really hope this was a good one for you. I could go on, and this one would easily be our longest one. I mean, if I just stayed on charts, we could we could be here for well over an hour, but these are supposed to be like 10 to 15 minutes. I don't think mine are ever 10, but about 15, maybe 20 minutes, and we're definitely on the high side of that. But this is a lot of fun, and we want it to be fun for you. So go out there. David used to call, looking for patterns a little bit like an Easter egg hunt. So you're out there, there's a bunch of eggs out there. Just go find them and enjoy the hunt. And then hopefully once you find that good pattern, you'll open up that egg and there'll be some money in there for you. Appreciate you guys joining us for Tip Tuesday. We'll see you next time.